After the death of Jesus, several significant events occurred. Here are 5 noteworthy occurrences. Earthquake and split rocks. Following Jesus' death, an earthquake shook the earth, causing rocks to split. This natural phenomenon signified a profound reaction to the divine events that took place on the cross. Opening of tombs. Matthew's account reveals that the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the saints, faithful people who had previously died, were raised to life. These resurrected individuals emerged from their tombs, entered Jerusalem, and appeared to many. Testimony of Jesus' sacrifice. The resurrection of these saints' bodies, combined with their appearances in Jerusalem, served as a powerful testament to the victory over death achieved through Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. Their resurrection was a remarkable demonstration of God's direct intervention. Significance of resurrection. The resurrection of the saints who had fallen asleep in death demonstrated the security of their eternal fate. This event underscored Jesus' work on the cross and highlighted the assurance of salvation for believers. Anticipation of future resurrection. The resurrection of these saints foreshadowed the future resurrection that all believers can anticipate through Jesus' death and subsequent resurrection. It aligns with Paul's teaching in 1 Corinthians that Jesus is the first fruits of the dead, paving the way for the resurrection of all who belong to Christ. These events following Jesus' death carry profound theological significance and provide a glimpse into the transformative power of his crucifixion and resurrection. Earthquake and split rocks. The earthquake that happened after Jesus' death was a significant event, symbolizing the impact of Jesus' sacrifice on the earth itself. The splitting of rocks further emphasized the dramatic nature of the event. This seismic activity was not a common occurrence, but rather a response to the profound spiritual and cosmic significance of Jesus' crucifixion. Opening of tombs. The opening of tombs and the resurrection of the bodies of the saints was a remarkable occurrence unique to Matthew's account. The resurrected saints were individuals who had lived righteous lives and had died prior to Jesus' crucifixion. Their resurrection demonstrated the power of Jesus over death and foreshadowed the ultimate victory over death through his resurrection. Appearance in Jerusalem. After their resurrection, the saints entered the holy city of Jerusalem and appeared to many people. This manifestation of the resurrected saints served as a tangible testimony to the reality of Jesus' work on the cross. The fact that they appeared to many individuals underscores the authenticity and impact of their resurrection. Testament to Jesus' sacrifice. The resurrection of the saints, often referred to as those who had fallen asleep, was a powerful testament to the efficacy of Jesus' sacrificial death. Their resurrection affirmed that through Jesus, death had been conquered, and eternal life was made available to all believers. Anticipation of future resurrection. The resurrection of the saints served as a precursor to the future resurrection that all believers can anticipate. Just as Jesus was the first to be raised with an incorruptible, immortal body, the resurrection of the saints hinted at the future resurrection of all who belong to Christ. It conveyed the hope and assurance of eternal life for those who have faith in Jesus. These events following Jesus' death carry profound theological significance. They highlight the power of his sacrifice, the victory over death, and the promise of resurrection for believers. The resurrection of the saints serves as a powerful testimony to the transformative impact of Jesus' crucifixion and his ultimate triumph over death. A new day has come. On this momentous day, death itself was defeated, making the resurrection to eternal life possible. However, it is important to note that the occupants of the tombs were not raised until after Jesus' own resurrection. They entered Jerusalem, appearing to many, but the Bible does not specify whether they died again or ascended to heaven with Jesus. Nature's response. The death of the Son of God had a profound impact on nature itself. Charles Spurgeon, a well-known preacher, Observe that while men's hearts remained unresponsive to Jesus' cries on the cross, the rocks demonstrated sensitivity by splitting apart. Although Jesus did not die for the rocks, their response highlighted the lack of responsiveness in human hearts. The torn veil. When Jesus cried out with a loud and agonizing voice, surrendering his spirit, a significant event took place. The veil in the temple, which separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple, was torn in two from top to bottom. This act symbolized the removal of the separation between God and humanity. The torn veil became known to many, possibly impacting the faith of priests who witnessed it. Symbolic meaning of the torn veil. The torn veil was a powerful illustration of the separation between God and humankind. In the days of the early church, many priests embraced the faith, possibly influenced by this event. The book of Hebrews explains that through Jesus, we now have the privilege of entering the Holy of Holies, symbolized by the torn veil. Just as Jesus' flesh was torn for us, the tearing of the veil represents access to God's presence through Jesus' sacrifice. The events surrounding Jesus' death and resurrection carry deep symbolic meaning, emphasizing the victory over death, the responsiveness of nature, and the removal of barriers between God and humanity. The torn veil serves as a powerful metaphor for the access believers now have to God's presence through Jesus' sacrifice. The constant reminder. The veil that perpetually hung in the temple served as a continual reminder of the unworthiness of humans to be in God's presence due to sin. The annual sin offering, distinct from the numerous daily sacrifices, starkly illustrated that animal sacrifices alone could not truly atone for or eliminate sin. However, through Jesus Christ's sacrifice on the cross, the barriers that once separated God and humanity were destroyed. As a result, we can now approach God with confidence and boldness. Hebrews 4:14-6. The torn body and veil. Jesus' body and the temple veil were both torn, symbolizing our newfound ability to approach God boldly. Jesus, our great high priest who passed through the heavens, empathizes with our weaknesses as he was tempted in every way, yet remained sinless. Therefore, we can confidently approach the throne of grace to receive mercy and find grace in times of need. At the moment of Christ's death, an invisible hand tore the heavy woven curtain separating the two main rooms of the temple from top to bottom. The death of the Son of God was accompanied by significant tremors in the natural world, suggesting a profound connection between the Creator and His creation. Darkness over the land. From the 6th hour, noon, until the 9th hour, 3:00 p.m., darkness covered the entire land. This supernatural darkness, occurring at the brightest time of day, fulfilled the prophecy in Amos 8:9. It was not an eclipse, as the moon was full and unable to interpose between the earth and the sun. This darkness served as a sign from heaven, signifying the spiritual blindness of those who had requested a sign. It also symbolized mourning, the death of great men, and God's judgment. The tombs were opened, and many righteous people who had died were raised, appearing to many in the holy city, Jerusalem. Matthew 7:50-53. The centurion's realization. The centurion, overseeing the execution, along with his fellow soldiers, witnessed the earthquake and the extraordinary events taking place. They became terrified and filled with awe, acknowledging that truly Jesus was the Son of God. Matthew 7:54. Centurions were responsible for ensuring proper execution and order during crucifixions, and their role required courage, intelligence, and efficiency. The fact that this hardened Roman centurion recognized Jesus as the Son of God highlights the remarkable nature of the crucifixion scene. This realization indicated that Jesus was innocent of the crime for which he was crucified. The centurion overseeing the crucifixion must have experienced a range of emotions upon realizing that he had overseen the execution of an innocent man. These were not the words of a frightened recruit or an easily manipulated conscript. They were the conclusions reached by a seasoned veteran who had witnessed numerous brutal deaths and was responsible for leading others to their demise. This centurion was well aware of the strong condemnation from the Jewish religious leaders who accused Jesus of blasphemy and had him put on the cross. His commander-in-chief, Pontius Pilate, had upheld Jesus' condemnation for claiming to be the king of the Jews. However, the centurion rejected this condemnation and declared Jesus' claim as valid. The arguments in favor of Christ were overwhelming. Although he had overseen many crucifixions, this particular execution stood out as different. The centurion witnessed various scenes from Jesus' arrest, trial, and crucifixion, and these scenes combined to form a compelling statement. Perhaps it was Jesus' response to the injustice he suffered at the hands of his own countrymen, or his response to the torture inflicted by the centurion and his men. One could also consider the dignity with which Jesus faced the angry mob demanding his blood, remaining silent like a lamb led to slaughter. The scriptures do not record any response from Jesus to the crowd's cries. Mark 15:11-15. However, the chief priests incited the crowd to demand the release of Barabbas instead of Jesus. Pilate asked why they wanted Jesus crucified, stating that he had done no evil. But they shouted even louder, demanding his crucifixion. Pilate, wanting to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas and handed Jesus over to be crucified. Jesus' concern was not for his own escape, but for the forgiveness of those who rejected him, including the soldiers who crucified him, and even the centurion. He prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Luke 23:34. The centurion witnessed all these events and was deeply moved by the dramatic nature of Christ's final hours, something he had never seen before. It had an immeasurable impact on him. The centurion and his soldiers were greatly frightened, experiencing pure terror. The power of the cross and the love demonstrated there touched even the battle-weary heart of a seasoned soldier, leading him from death to life. The foot of the cross is where everyone, regardless of their status, finds level ground to kneel and embrace the Christ who died for them. We should have a passion to know Jesus more deeply and allow that desire to burn in our hearts so that we can truly know the one who loved us and gave himself for us. The encounter with Jesus undoubtedly had a profound effect on the centurion and the soldiers. And while tradition suggests that the centurion's name was Longinus, and that he became a devout follower of Jesus who preached the gospel and died as a martyr, we cannot confirm this as historical fact. However, we do know that the truth has a way of clinging to a person's heart, and the cross of Jesus has the power to change individuals. The centurion began as a Roman officer overseeing a crucifixion, but by the end of the day, he recognized Jesus as the Son of God. Jesus has already taken the initiative in salvation by dying for us, and now it's our turn to respond and embrace the new life he offers. He died as our substitute so that we could live in him. These events, though some may consider them myth or theological stories, are unique testimonies that confirm the truth of the gospel and the transformative power of Christ's love in human history.